Well, welcome to Simulation Pulse Live.
Hello, everyone.
Turn my cameras
Hello.
off, Sean.
And there's Sean.
Here's Sean is over here.
I heard him.
There he is. Hey. Sean Blissett, lead platform developer at Acadicus, is here at Studio Wildwoods, the Acadicus HQ, Village of Oregon, Wisconsin.
Can you guys hear me now?
There. Hi,
How's
Mitch.
your Mitch?
There we go.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Can't
Cool.
see you.
It doesn't give me an option to turn on my camera.
Oh.
Yeah, the webinar style Zoom sort of sets up for that. I think as the
Try now.
yeah, I
I
was gonna
made you a panelist. Oh.
there you go.
Can you do the same for Sean?
Yep, just did.
There.
Hey.
Hi, Mitch.
Howdy,
In
howdy.
the
How's
in the
everyone?
lab today. Happy Friday in the lab.
I'm doing some building today, so
What are you building?
I'm working on making we are going to start recording lectures to put in Canvas for students.
Excellent.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to take the 3D lecture, turn it 2D, and post it into our courses so that students, instead of just watching a PowerPoint for their ticket to ride to class, they're going to watch a simulation with a PowerPoint built into it. And the instructor is going to be actually providing care to the patient while I play the patient for their students to watch.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
That's
It's nursing students?
Correct. Yep. And so we're doing, our first one is chronic kidney disease, acute kidney injury, nephrotic syndrome. So we're doing some heavy lifting on some kidney disease issues.
Kidney disease issues. Got it. So you're going into your lab in Acadicus and you've got a scene configuration that's set up. So you've designed and built scenes, or that's what you're doing today, presumably, building the scenes to support those. And then you're going to have an instructor come in and hit record on the 3D recording tool. And then the 3D recording tool is going to capture everything that's being said and done in 3D as an immersive 3D sort of holographic lecture, and then capture a 2D screen-based recording of a video, traditional video of the 3D recording that you can put into Canvas to support the lecture. Oh, that's cool. That's great. That's great. So
hey, Mitch, are you using an Acadicam to get that static view that you're going to catch on the 2D? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. That's awesome.
So trying to take and use this in a new way again. And I did my very first pharmacology scenario with our students as they're getting ready for their final next week. So we are going to see how well they do on their exam and if they do better than they did before.
yeah, 2 thumbs way up for that.
Now, Mitch, is that using the new nursing pharmacology OpenRN?
Yep,
And you
set?
authored that case, right, Mitch?
I did.
Cool, cool.
Yep. So I took it into the classroom and I hooked into our AV system, and I took two laptops, one for the student to use with the headset and one for me to use screen-based so I could make changes to the patient. And so we just did it as a scenario, like as a case study type thing, where I was like, okay, so here's Millie, and what do we start with? And so they start doing their assessment and they got the vital signs, and I made her blood pressure high. And I'm like, oh no, her blood pressure's high. What medicine do you go give for that? So then they went over and they got the med, and they came back and they gave her the med, and I lowered her blood pressure and her heart rate because they gave metoprolol instead of the cardizem. And then we talked about the differences of why we would use different medicines. And then she started having wheezing in her lungs. So then they gave the albuterol, and then her heart rate shot back up. So then they had to give her another medicine to bring it back down. And so they actually got to use the medicines in like a really live way of like, this is the repercussion when you give this medicine. And what do you need to monitor for? And so then we actually did the assessment because I gave her edema in her legs and they gave her furosemide. And so I talked about like, oh, I gotta go now, I gotta go now. And so then they were like, oh, safety hazards. And so we got to kind of cover a lot of bases with it, and it was a lot of fun, and the students really, really liked it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a
Do you
great
do
way to do
your
business.
pre-briefing and debriefing in VR or out of VR?
So for that one, because it's not really like a scenario, it's using it more as a learning tool. We don't really pre-brief or debrief because it's not like we're running a scenario where we're thinking about specific things. We kind of debrief, but we're not doing traditional debriefing. What we're doing is more of like when we were done, like, okay, what did we take away from today? What did you learn about these meds? What's the key things to think about? So it's not like, what went well, what didn't go well, like you would normally start off with. We didn't go there. It was more of like, okay, so let's talk about these meds again. Let's go over them one last time. And what did we learn about albuterol? What did we learn about cardizem? What did we learn about this? And really focus more on reinforcing that knowledge that was hopefully gained during the time.
That makes sense. Cool. And did you pair the students up for that one like you've done in the past, or did they each have their own station?
Nope. So I just took it in the classroom and I said, who wants to volunteer? And someone came up because I was in the AV system, so the students in the class could see what they were doing on the screen.
Got it. Okay. Oh, so you're presenting this to a whole class. Maybe I
I did
missed
it.
that part. I think I missed that part of it. I see. So you've got a screen and you're showing them on the screen what's happening, and it's everybody's traditional classroom style. They're all sitting and watching your presentation.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So that's where you wouldn't, yeah, have the pre-brief and debrief. Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
because we weren't really doing a scenario like a traditional scenario. I wrote this one as a way to take it into the classroom, into a theory class. So instead of just using it as a simulation replacement, using it as a learning tool within the classroom, so that way then um it's not just the, oh, we come and do this for clinical. How else can we use it? So like taking it and putting it into that learning modality, because the literature is telling us that no longer do 80% of students identify as visual learners. 60% now identify as kinesthetic learners. So they learn through movement. So by giving them something to watch on the screen that moves and has action, and they see the vitals change, they see the assessment, they hear the differences in the, because like I had it where the sound was coming through so that everyone could hear the lung sounds as they were listening. And like, oh, she's wheezing. What do we got to give for wheezing? And they were like, oh, let's go grab that. Or, oh, she's got crackles in her lungs now. What do we give for this? And so it's using it in a different way instead of just clinical replacement.
Yep.
Wow.
Awesome.
Immersive 3D
Mhm.
PowerPoint replacement.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I'm using it as a PowerPoint replacement, but I'm also using it as a visual aid within the class and making things more case study based instead of, here, I'm going to have this PowerPoint, we're going to talk about things.
Yeah.
It's giving them more interactiveness to it, because it's not the same when you like have just a picture up on your screen and you're like, here's our patient, and now we got to give this med, and you're like, so what happens when I give that med? And you're like, yep, that's what happens. And then they don't see anything, they don't see a change, they don't see and so now they can see the change, they can hear the change, that because I clear up the lung sounds, or I get rid of the edema, or I have their, I get rid of their extra heart sound because if they're too fluid overloaded. So
Cool. Cool.
Well, it brings a whole level of context into it that you don't get, right, when you're doing kind of book learning or PowerPoint learning. And,
mhm.
from a learning theory perspective, that helps ingrain those concepts and processes just so much more readily in the brain, because now I'm associating it with other things and not these kind of little facts in a silo, that I'm supposed to be able to pull together when I need them. So, yeah.
I've had a lot of instructors who, they feel like they can't ditch their PowerPoint, it's very much ingrained. Like, and I've told people before, like, I don't use PowerPoint, and they're like, how do you do anything Well, you can do a lot of stuff without PowerPoint, you know? You can do exactly what Mitch is talking about here. There is so much that you can do. And now you obviously have to have that base knowledge. Well, you know, make sure that you're going over all of the stuff. If you're not clear on maybe, okay, wait, if cardiac, right? So if you're a little unclear on it, just make sure that you go over it before you go in. But yeah, you know, it, it became, when I started talking to some of my faculty about, you know, like, go off PowerPoint for a little bit, it became rough sometimes. And what I had to do was I had to, like, do you remember when you were in school and the teacher would turn on the overhead and you would sit there and go, oh, and the lights would go off and you'd start to go to sleep? Do you remember that? And they're like, yeah, I do. Like, it's just PowerPoint is the same. Now, there are some people that will do great PowerPoints, don't get me wrong. And they'll jazz it up and they'll make, like, you know, make it look great, very little writing, a lot more visual stuff. That's cool, but you know, like Mitch just said, you're still looking at a visual learning tool there versus a kinesthetic one. And the kinesthetic learning tools most definitely can work much better.
I also like the idea of potentially introducing the scenes, the characters, the environments, and introducing these situations and people, patients, you know, so that they're seeing it in that really kind of a little bit less, like it's a little more lightweight, where they're not in the headset actually in there interacting, but they're seeing it ahead of time and they're seeing the story potentially starting to take shape. And like you could use that as a kind of a narrative thread so that they've been introduced to the patient. So now when they come to the XR lab, they put on the headset, they go, and there's Millie. Like I remember Millie from the classroom lectures, you know, like I remember that. And I remember doesn't she have asthma? And doesn't she have, you know, in starting to build that sort of like connection with the characters that like the patients, you know, that are drawing you into the story that help you learn, you know, because I think like we talked about, you know, I think in another time, you know, that you know, when you begin with, you know, once upon a time, you know, the brain is primed to learn now and you're leaning in and you want to hear the rest of the story. If you can tie it to a contiguous narrative and that learning is carrying through, the students, I think, are more likely to retain what they're learning if they're seeing that multiple touch point rather than just like a sliver in time where it's like, we're going to go in and look at this patient one time and then we're going to leave and we're never going to see her again. That's not really reality, right?
Right.
Yeah, and what the students said afterwards was like, they're like, I'm gonna be able to picture this whenever I'm taking my exam. I'm gonna be able to remember because it had a flow to it, and it was not just here's a fact, here's a fact, here's a fact, here's a fact. It was like, oh yeah, because someone was like, seeing the vitals change helped me a lot because like it's one thing for you to say like their blood pressure goes down, but it was another thing to see it go down, to see the heart rate slow down, to see these things. And so that piece of it was what that kind of gave me like the okay, I'm seeing where you're at now, and they like I said really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to work on getting this lecture done. It's going to be weird to do because I'm going to have to do it like we're going to do it in chunks because I don't want to try to record the whole thing in one foul swoop. So trying to do a piece by piece by piece by piece and then do that in the 3D recording and then editing that 3D recording, then to be able to play it back and put it in 2D. So like this first one, I'm not going to do the 3D recording in Acadicus. I'm just going to start off with doing screen recording because that's easier to edit. And then as I figure out how to do this smoothly, then I'll work on doing them as 3D to then save and have for playback in 3D. But like I said, we're starting off with baby steps to
That's a great plan.
figure out how to do it.
That's a great plan. Baby steps and testing and trial, like that's the way to do it.
Crawl, walk, run.
That's it. That's
Mhm.
exactly right.
Yeah.
But you know, Mitch, I mean, you're also doing this kind of really advanced stuff where you've gone beyond the concept of like you said earlier, just doing a simulation to really teaching in it as a medium like you would use PowerPoint, right? Just to get concepts across. not necessarily these kind of rote, step-by-step things that we can tend to do in simulation, but this is, okay, let's talk about a disease process or a treatment plan or, larger scale concept things. And I think that's really exciting. We're still a ways away from it, but when we think about the future where, I do believe we're going to get to this kind of visor that we're going to put on, right, and be able to do things. That's going to be our primary computing interface, and that's where teaching is going to take that next leap into using these kind of environments, both in mixed and virtual reality to educate and teach with.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
I don't want to put Sean on the spot here, but I'm going to do it anyway. That I think everybody should know who Sean is. Sean is one of the most modest people that I've ever worked with. I can go so far as to say that there probably, in fact, I don't think there would be an Acadicus if it weren't for Sean. I met him many, many years ago, and he joined the team pre-Acadicus and first started working on projects for American Family Insurance and other projects when we were doing custom development, and really was with us every step of the way of development of Acadicus. And in platform, in leading platform development, he's really the one that's behind the scenes making this all happen. I always consider myself the wizard behind the curtain, but really it's like Sean's the wizard here. He's in there programming and building and just so if you have an issue with something that comes up or something that you want fixed, it's likely going to be Sean that's going to be immediately on top of it, triaging and just behind the scenes making this all work. So I hope I have an opportunity to introduce everybody on the team, but Sean's here from Denver. He's visiting, Madison, Wisconsin. We're going to be hanging out the next few days, and just so great to have Sean here. I just want to make sure Sean gets all the credit he deserves for being really one of the core underpinnings of the Acadicus platform.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Right.
Very kind of you to say. Yeah, definitely open to a lot of feedback from our users, especially Mitch using it in unique ways. So I feel like that's such a unique case and a lot of valuable information coming out on. I've gotten some emails and different threads relayed to me from Mitch, but always interested in hearing what could be, I guess, through your experience, what wish list things are or other things that are working that could be enhanced, or definitely issues too. We're always open to hearing those and addressing them. So yeah, getting the feedback from the community is pretty big, and that's something we can definitely try to open up a line from our customers directly to the development team, make that more frictionless. But thanks, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think another big part of what Sean balances really well is like this constant tension between the roadmap, what we call the roadmap of features, right? And I think, Bill and Rick and Mitch and all of the customer community are, sharing a lot of ideas about, what would be cool is if we had this, or if we had this, or if we could do that, or, and there's all these things that we want to do. But at the same time, there's what the platform is now and making the platform function properly as it is right now. And so there's this constant tension and priority between like, should we be working on this thing and making this all work, or should we be focusing on the thing that's going to be here 18 months from now that's going to be way better and it's going to render this thing obsolete? Should we be working toward that, or should we be focusing here? And so Sean's always trying to figure out like, how to put this together. And one of the things Sean prepared not too long ago is basically we use a platform called Monday, and it's basically a web page that has the roadmap kind of embedded in it, so we can actually see like some of what's coming in the future. And it's like that sort of thing, I think going forward is a big part of what we want to do, is really include the community in determining what those roadmap features are, what we should be prioritizing, what you all want us, prioritizing. And a lot of that we hope to get from our community of practice events. We've got one coming up actually. These are customer only events, but we like to just incorporate all that feedback and synthesize that into the roadmap that Sean keeps up. We happened to pick a pretty great weekend here in Madison. I'm way off the simulation topic, but it's like 70, it's sunny, and all the neotropical birds are flying back, and it's a great time to be in Madison. Gonna go explore downtown and hang out, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was just out walking the dogs and I'm like, okay, now this is what I'm looking at. You know, coming from Florida where everything is hot all the time. And you know, it's fine, you walk the dog, but then you come back in, you're like, oh, I need a shower. This is awful. But yeah, it wonderful outside and you know, always a good time. So
Sure. Yeah, it'll be a good time. So what's new at Madison College, Bill?
well, we'll talk about yesterday. So we had some of our architecture people come in yesterday. I actually did an experiment yesterday with one of our student support personnel. He actually had come to the XR Center and said, you know, I wonder if this is gonna be like cool for me. And I thought, okay, why? You know, what's going on? And he's like, I have one eye. I have my right eye functions, or no, it was his left eye functions, his right eye doesn't, and he's been that way, you know, since birth, right? So, I was very interested in this because you know I can try that and close my eye and see what it looks like in VR, but that doesn't really. My brain is trained to see in 2D, so I'm kind of pulling some of the things that my brain knows already. And so he made an appointment with me and said, I want to test this out. I said, I love this idea. And and I brought him to the Madison College digital twin. And the entire time he was, oh wow. Oh, I can't believe this. Like you know, I was worried that it wasn't going to be interesting for him but it's a good test case because we will have students who have differing abilities like that. And so, you know, we got to kind of find out is this something and that's what I kind of pitched to him is like, would you be willing to try this out with me and see what you think? And he was picking things up and everything. So it wasn't depth perception wasn't an issue. He really, really enjoyed it, like really loved it. And he's a math instructor. And so now we're talking about what could we do in terms of physics instruction using virtual reality and how we could leverage that for physics instruction. So we also have 3 expansions going on actually. So we are expanding our South Campus will be getting some of their own standalone stuff, and they'll be using a program there that they were really interested in. And so I'll be kind of helping to manage that. And then our Watertown campus and our Reedsburg campus both are going to be getting a permanent virtual reality equipment. So I don't have to keep, you know, carting a bunch of laptops up there. So they're going to be getting some permanent VR equipment. That way, when we do our nursing simulations at Reedsburg and Watertown, the stuff is already right there for them. So yeah, so that's really great. We also ran just recently birthed some babies with our nursing faculty and our nursing students. And they really, really enjoyed it. They enjoyed the experience quite a bit. So things went really well with that. And you know, it was just fun to be able to use some of those assets that we had put so much time and effort into creating that you know, it was really great to finally see that pay off. And so, and then I've got a bunch of visitors coming in. We've got some visitors from other colleges. We've got EMS is going to come and check out some of the stuff because they've been talking about getting back into VR again. When I left EMS, that's kind of VR sort of went with me. So the talk is to get back into virtual reality in terms of EMS. And I think it's just going to be a really great time. We're finally getting to a point where I feel like I can, you know, take a breath because this semester has been extremely busy. But I'm getting a little time to breathe and to sort of reset and get some planning done as well. So, but yeah, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff going on at the college. So
That's excellent. I
yeah.
was just talking to Casey and Glenn from Oregon EMS, and they're excited to come in and do more simulations down in the village. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
We had run a
Yeah.
simulation with the Oregon EMS group some time ago, and they really enjoyed it. And Bill facilitated from one of the. We have two different spaces in our office, and Bill went in the back and was in non-VR mode facilitating the simulation manager, and the EMS folks were up in the front. And just watching, I just love how when I've talked about this before, but like when expert, EMS people get in there and Glenn and Casey are just the best, they're expert, advanced, and just watching what they do, they immediately get in there and they're on their hands and knees and they're just, and students are a little bit more timid, they're a little bit more like, what can I do? I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to harm the patient. And they're kind of frozen, where you watch professionals get in there and they're just like grabbing things and grabbing the bag valve mask and they're doing compressions and they're just at it. I think that's such a cool thing. So yeah, maybe we'll bring them up to the XR centers sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, most
Simulation up there.
definitely. We really should. Those are things I think we would absolutely love to host. And as the summer comes up, there's a little bit more time and stuff like that. It's a nice problem to have. But I have mentioned a couple times to people like because again, we're serving 20 programs at this point. And I'm still a little, concerned about my ability to keep up with it, so to speak. But it's a good problem to have. I like that kind of a problem. I'd rather have that than, nobody ever comes to the XR Center. So we definitely use the XR Center quite a bit. And then, even other places as well, because we do a lot of standalone stuff too. So, and we just had yesterday, speaking of standalone, we had the women's and the men's soccer team came to the XR Center to do an exercise in team building. And we played some games in virtual reality. It was kind of fun. And you could really see like the way that it kind of helped bring them together. And the funny thing is that only one person was in VR at a time. But the games are set up. There's one called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. Basically you have a person that's in the headset, they have a bomb that's in front of them, they have to defuse the bomb, and the people outside of the headset are the ones that have the manual on how to do it. So they really have to communicate with each other so that they can figure out how to get this thing diffused. And it's like 5 minutes and there's a clock ticking down and everything like that. So, but they really enjoyed it. And it was a really great way to do team building exercise. And I've even had some instructors say, well, maybe we should do this in some of our meetings. If we're talking team building, why don't we bring these into some of our meetings? And I'm like, you tell me when and where, and we're doing it. So, yeah.
That's so cool. Team building on for the soccer team in virtual reality. That's amazing. That is
Yeah,
really
it started
cool.
with the women's basketball team, and then one of the ladies that was on the women's basketball team is also on the women's soccer team. And she's like, hey, can I get your card? And maybe my coach will contact and he contacted me almost right away. And he came in, he's like, wow, this is cool. Let's do it. And yeah, so we had a lot of fun. We just had a lot of fun. And it's really cool to get to see so many programs that are interested in using VR now. And being able to help with all of them and, learn the way that they do things and then see what ways we can use VR to help improve their instruction and, and how efficient they are.
Yeah, and circling back on, you had mentioned earlier that you're expanding campus, building, VR labs on other campuses. I know that's something NWTC is doing, and Mitch has been working with, some of those remote or regional campuses, I guess you'd call them, or locations, and being able to do that. I feel like that represents the beginning of the next frontier of VR learning, and we see this with, I would say a lot of the customers that started early adopting Acadicus have gotten to the point where they're fluid with it now and they want to be able to expand, and they're doing things like expanding multiple locations. And I think we're just scratching the surface. And I think, Bill and Mitch probably both are way ahead on this, in terms of where this can go. But once that's set up, it has a force multiplier in terms of what you can do by sharing resources and sharing knowledge between campuses and being able to get one instructors on one campus, but the students are on a different campus, or, just being able to work across disciplines, it's like it's like a holodeck, and once you're in there, geography is irrelevant, and you can be anywhere. And I think that's pretty magical, and it's kind of unprecedented in the world of educational technology. Other than flat video, obviously that's prevalent, but extending that virtual dimension to it, it's just going to break open a whole new world of possibilities.
We have a bunch of people that are interested in getting trained on how to do sort of the basics, like getting people set up in headsets, getting people in, and getting some of these things started. And then the nice thing is I can be here. I can be at the XR Center. I don't have to worry about that. And now I got an hour and a half drive up to Reedsburg, an hour and a half drive back. And I'm, trying to balance everything because I've got another class that wants to come in like right after it. And I had that problem this semester where, nursing wanted to do something up at Reedsburg, and then I had Spanish class running at Truax. Well, luckily I have a gentleman that works in Casteel that I can go to him and say, hey, can you cover Spanish class? And he was able to do that. But it would be great if I could, yeah, no problem. I can cover that simulation. So I'll do the simulation. I'll stay here at Truax, and then you'll be up there, and I can still act exactly the same. And I've done that like from here before, from my house, even to people over in Denmark, which was a lot of fun. But just offering that capability of, now I can do that simulation. I don't have to travel all the way up there because I have someone up there who can get everything started, get people into headsets, those kind of things. And then we're off and running. And like you said, even have another instructor. Maybe the OB instructor is, at Truax and is like, hey, I can't drive all the way up to Reedsburg because I got a class coming up. Well, hey, no problem. Come on in. You can be in VR. You can join the students, watch what they're doing. You can act as the patient, all that kind of stuff. And then, you're done in 2 hours, and then you can just go to your class right after that. So it's a big benefit.
It's huge. And eventually you'll be able to have potentially even like guest visitors come in from wherever in the world, come on in, and they could be out in California and they just happen to be an expert on some topic you're teaching on. Come on in, put on a headset, join us. We're going to have our students in multiple campuses. And it's like once those geographical barriers are eliminated, it opens up a lot of new possibilities. And I think the next step is, or I don't know, but I don't know, there's a chronology to it, but they're between education and practice, right? So the hospitals are starting to stand up VR labs too. So like once the hospitals have VR labs and the schools have VR labs, those virtual clinicals become a whole new order of magnitude, right? Because you're working with people that are in the hospital site, potentially even within a digital twin or a replica of the hospital site, and you're preparing the students for when they graduate to transition into practice with people who are in practice. Like again, it's hard to do now because of geographic distance, but once that's melted down and you can just do whatever, I mean, it just becomes a whole new. And then the final frontier, or the next frontier of that, I think, is collaboration between schools. And I have a vision someday, NWTC, Madison College, some of the other collaborators in our community, there's no reason why we can't be all working together. I know there's a sort of like existing way that simulation is supposed to be done. But like, again, once we get used to the idea that we're in this virtual world and none of those old ideas apply anymore, it's like, oh, you know what we could do? Why couldn't we do this? Why couldn't we share resources? Why don't I teach your students this and you can teach my students this? And just, I think that's going to be just a whole nother dimension to this.
I want to do a multi-school IPE event
That would be awesome.
where we can have the emergency situation like take place in VR, and then you can do certain parts of it, and then your patient arrives all of a sudden in your sim lab. So not only do you get some VR in there, but you get the real stuff, the in-person part as well. So that way you get the psychomotor portion of the learning spectrum, but why not have it where, oh, okay, we have to coordinate how are we going to take these patients and which patient's going to go to where, and can some patients go to Green Bay versus those who need to go to Madison versus those who need to go to Milwaukee versus those who go to La Crosse. And because if it's something like a plane crash, and there's, tons and tons of people who have been injured, I think about like EAA as an event, and, if a plane crashed there into a crowd, and what would you do? And, but you could then disperse those patients out into different places. And I think that would be a really cool thing to figure out in the future.
Yeah,
That is interesting.
I was talking to one of our nursing instructors the other day about something like that. And she had mentioned, she said, well, one of the problems that we always ran into is that nursing and EMS are not always necessarily on the same chapter, right? Nursing's working on this, EMS might be working on this, or we're just not ready. Our timing is just not right. And I said, well, with 3D recording, we could kind of say, hey, never mind so much about the timing, because we could have, we have this emergency incident with EMS, they go through all of this, they bring this patient in, give a report, again, in a 3D recording, and now the nursing students can go in, watch that 3D recording. Yeah, it's not exactly the same as having that direct and live collaboration, which is that's the gold standard. That's what we want. But it does give us that capability to even kind of transcend time a little bit, in that now that EMS can come, they're delivering the patient, they're giving a report, they're letting the nurse know what's going on, and now the nursing students are taking over from there. We can kind of do that, which is really really nice. That's another way of using 3D recording and leveraging that with our students. So.
That's amazing. I mean, did I understand you right, Mitch? What you were describing was like you could have the event occur in virtual reality, but then essentially, like I'm imagining, like everybody's in that VR lab behind you, and they're in the headset, and they're, let's just say Minnesota State University has that soccer stadium, and they have a disaster scene in there. We're working in that scene, and we see the lightning strike. There's been a bunch of casualties. The EMS is working within the virtual reality scene to triage. And, Bill's done a bunch of that with that downtown scene where, who gets what priority and what medical centers are available and which ones should we send which patients to. And you're doing all that. But then somebody knocks on the door of the VR lab and like, we need your help. Like patients are coming in from a disaster that just happened at the soccer stadium, and we need your help. And you're going in, and now the mannequin's got these injuries, and and then the debrief, the handoff is like, yeah, this was a soccer stadium, there was a lightning strike and whatever. Now we need to, what do we do? And it's like the students would just love that. Like they saw the thing occur, and then now there's this like hybrid thing that happens where it's like, wait a minute, someone knocks on the door and you've got to go actually care for a patient that came out of that scenario. Like that'd be so much fun. That's a great idea.
Well, and even if you had some of your nursing students be like spectators, and so while EMS is en route, what do you do? Do you start, where do you even start in dealing with disaster management when you're the person that's in the stands or at the event that it occurs at? Because, most people just want to be like, I don't work here.
You're
They
right.
might
Yeah.
just panic and just kind of walk away. And so, like, is there a way to take this and build something where, and then EMS can arrive, and so then maybe it's respiratory and nursing and I don't know, dental, and get different people from different backgrounds, that have some medical knowledge to a degree, and then how do they hand over to EMS, and how does EMS get report from those people? So that way, that's a practice for EMS to, how do you work with someone who's hysterical and losing their mind because they just watch a bunch of people get electrocuted or whatever, and then you progress it through. And but then, like, I could even have, like, at my campus, I could have a patient who arrives via EMS, with as a mannequin that was choking at a restaurant that needs to be brought in. So then, my nursing students are trying to figure out, okay, we got this person with burns, this person with this person with the damaged airway. How do you divvy up your resources? How do you decide, and like maybe you make your most senior nursing students the charge nurse of the ER that's your sim lab, and then they have to decide what students and what whoever's going to divvy out and go work with this person and this person, and then they run those rooms, and the charge nurse comes around and checks on them. And So then you could bring everybody back into VR for the debrief. And like, okay, so what happened in your scenario as this went on, and then what happened in this scenario as you went on, and what happened at Madison College, and where when this patient, these patients arrived at your space, and what did you experience? And you could have different patients that go different places, and then you get to have that. I mean, I think the debrief of that would be amazing, especially like if Bill took, half of my students, I took half of his. And so, we're debriefing each other's students as well with different scenarios and getting all that feedback that our students are sharing with his and vice versa. And I mean, that could be something really, really cool.
That'd be incredible, right? So it's like not just a knock on the door at your VR lab, but like all the schools that are participating in this are receiving different patients with different conditions, and at the end bringing them all together and saying, okay, how did we do? How did we experience this? What did you see? What did you? That's wow, wow. It's like breaking down geographic barriers. It's breaking down the hybrid between the physical mannequins and the virtual mannequins. It's breaking down barriers between schools. You could even get a few agencies in there, get Oregon EMS in there, it just could be this really fully functional experience that crosses all kinds of barriers. That's really exciting, because I know one of the reasons why multiple casualty is so important to do in virtual reality is because of the expense and complexity of doing it in reality. And of course, reality is always going to be the highest bandwidth. We want to do this in reality if we can. That's the gold standard. That's the best way. But shutting down a whole downtown area and getting all the agencies organized and getting all the mannequins all prepped. I've heard enough stories from enough instructors that are just like, it's a nightmare and it takes forever. So as a result, they probably don't do it as much as they really should be, right? So people just aren't getting practice. They're not getting desensitized to that shock of seeing something like that. It's just not happening because of the complexity and cost. So even though it's not as good as being in the reality with the mannequins, it's at least something that's very accessible that we could do right now if we wanted to. It's really, there's nothing stopping that, and you don't need all those resources.
And I think of it as pre-lab exercise too. I mean, we spend a lot of time in lab working on certain things that we could pre-lab in virtual reality. We could use virtual reality as a way to do a pre-lab, and I'm thinking of mass casualty. Let's say, here we are in May and we're planning a mass casualty for October. Okay, so we're getting that ready. But one of the things that takes up a lot of time is preparing the students for all of the things that they have to do to get to operate this correctly. And even, any agencies, providers, anybody else that's going to be part of this. And so what we can do is we can use it as that pre-lab as a way to decrease the amount of time that we have to use doing this, we want hands-on patient, because like you said, Jon, that is sort of a gold standard. That's what we're looking to do. But you can really do that like once, maybe twice in your year, unless your agency is, and that that's what they do and that's all they do. You're doing it maybe once or twice. Whereas in virtual reality, you can do it multiple times during the day and then just keep hitting reset. And a very interesting thing that happened that some of my colleagues we were working on, we were doing a presentation at one of our other campuses, and they were shutting down their stuff, and they were like, okay, we got this to pick up, we got to get this out. Okay, hold on, we get, the truck's over here, we got to bring everything out to there. And I just took my laptop and threw it in my bag and went to my truck. And so that's the benefit, is that I don't have to do all of that cleanup and all of that kind of stuff. I shut down Acadicus and my lab is going to reset for me anyway. So I can hit restart on it, but it's going to reset for me anyway when I log out. So that's the beauty and the ease of use for both preparation and for event practice, is that, there's your cleanup. And I've had some fun bloody scenes in Acadicus and stuff everywhere, and the ambu bags over here and all this. And you look at like one of the nursing scenarios that we use is a patient who's a congestive heart failure patient, then eventually goes into cardiac arrest. And there's stuff everywhere, right? It's crazy. It's a chaotic scene. But how do I clean it up? I just go click and I clean it up and we're done and we're back to the beginning again. And so that was one of the things that I really highlighted to some of my nursing faculty. They're like, man, that was great. That was really, yeah, well, watch this. I'm going to clean up, and it's done. So,
I feel the same way whenever I set up for an exhibit at a trade show, I'll go to IMSH, and I show up and I've got my, my backpack, with my laptop and a headset in it, and set up in about 5 minutes. And then I look over at, I'm not going to name any names, but some of the incumbent, manufacturers, they show up with a semi trailer full of crates, big wooden crates, and they're prying those open and they got about 35 people setting it all up, and I'm just like, here I am with my backpack.
yep.
Pretty simple,
Yeah, it's what
pretty
we
easy
did when
setup.
Carly, yeah, it's what we did when Carly went over to Denmark. I mean, there's no way we were going to do a collaboration between us and Denmark and they have, their mannequins are a little different than ours and all that. So Carly just brought a headset and a laptop in a backpack, was able to get through security, none of those issues. Like I went through security once with a mannequin, like a half mannequin and all of that. They were like, what is that? When I was doing a presentation out in Denver. But Carly brought this thing all the way over to Denmark and back, and we were doing wound care, and then we switched it up, and we were checking on a patient, and then we switched it up, and we were talking MCI, and to have all of that stuff and be able to bring it with you, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, I remember walking around IMSH this year going, wow, that is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and then the bell rings and it's the exhibit hall is closing down, and I'm like, all done, and then I just walk through the hall, walk past everybody else just starting, they're just like getting into their work clothes, like, here we go, like it's going to be the rest of the day. But there's nothing, there's not a either or, this isn't a better or worse, this isn't about that. There's obviously a very distinct need for both of these worlds, like we've been talking about already today. But it is interesting. You can put the headset on and now I'm in an ICU and I'm in a PICU and I'm in a NICU, I'm in a downtown and I'm in a long-term care, and it's like literally one click. We hear about that with the hazard identification scene in that OpenRN, excuse me, created for the for that project. And that's a big turnover for the sim labs to like set up all the hazards, and it's got, they got to turn their whole sim lab upside down trying to get all the hazards in there. And then the next group comes in and it's just a lot of set up and tear down, and a lot of time goes into that, but we can just reset in one click, ready for the
One of
next
my
group.
nursing instructors called me yesterday and asked for that simulation for next week. And he said, like, is there anything that we need to do? I was like, no, that one's set up. That's ready to go. Like, and that can be solo mode. The students can do all their own stuff at the same time because we have like, 5 or 6 students that are coming in. He's like, so how long do you think that's going to take? I'm like, I mean, if we're not talking all the training and tutorial, and we're just talking in that scenario, 10-15 minutes, because we have all of those students there and they can go in and they can all do it at the same time. And
So
it's going to take about 10-15 minutes.
So Bill, I have a solution to get around the tutorial for the hazard ID. I moved my spawn point to inside the room, and so then they never even have to teleport. I found the spot that they can see every hazard ID and only have to use the left and right to turn.
Yeah.
So then they only use action and left and right. They don't have to do any other buttons or any other movement. And that way then, so I do it with our fundamentals class, and it's their third lecture. And what they do is they send me 2 students every 3 minutes. So I get 2 students in headsets, and then by the time I get done, the next 2 are arriving, and I put those in headsets, and I just keep moving through. And then when they're done, they take their headset, they hang it back up on the wall, they hang their controllers up. I come behind, I wipe them down with a cloth because I can't get them into my clean box, that fast and out. But I wipe them all down, and then I put in the next round, and I literally just do rounds and rounds and rounds for 2 hours. And I get every single student from fundamentals done in about 3 to 4 hours. And we admit 64 students per semester. So
Yeah.
I get 64 students through in a couple hours, and it goes really smooth. And because I'm not doing the tutorial and stuff, I can literally put them in, be like, left, right, action. That's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah, that particular day we'll be using Bjorn as well, which is why they have to go through the tutorial.
Yeah.
But that is an excellent point, and that's something, like showing to newer to users or to instructors, like I can get your people through. That's an excellent point, Mitch. And that, because one of the things that always comes up in some of the discussions is scalability, and it's like, well, no. Here, look, we can do some scalability. So yeah, that's an excellent point.
We're getting close to the top of the hour. I was thinking maybe next Friday we could have a little bit of a content showcase. You guys think about that? Like look at some, because we've had quite a bit of new content released or being released soon that I don't think the community or anybody's really aware of at this point, with some great collaborators. We're working with some schools and hospitals that are creating sponsoring development of some pretty exciting new content. So maybe we could do a little show and tell and show
I
some
think
of the
that'd
new
be awesome.
content, and maybe even get some of the SMEs that are sponsoring that content to come in and talk about it at some point. We've got some guests coming up, but they're not going to be until June, July. Obviously, this time of year, instructors are very difficult. Great. Glad to have Mitch and Bill here at such a busy time of the semester for you. I guess every school is on different, timelines, but for the most part, it seems like this time of year is pretty busy for just about everybody.
Next week, I actually am running 3 9-hour days of VR sim.
Wow.
So I will be next Friday, I will be MIA because I will be in VR.
You'll be in VR.
Nice.
I'll
It's a good
allow
place
it.
to be, Mitch. Good place to be.
Excellent.
And
Well, if
also
there-
we are getting spotlighted. So Achieving the Dream paid for my lab. And they're gonna spotlight our work with Acadicus and the stuff that we've been doing as
Oh,
their just for the Brave of Heart, for the what we are the accelerating nursing pathways cohort of grant recipients. So we're going to be spotlighted by the president of Achieving the Dream and the Brave of Heart Foundation for the work we're doing with virtual reality with our students.
Excellent.
So Acadicus is going to get a nice little, and we'll get a nice little thumbs up for the stuff that we're doing here. So super excited to get to share that with you guys later when we figure out what happens with that.
Excellent. Excellent. Very cool. Congrats. That's huge.
Fantastic.
Well, is there anything left unsaid that we want to cover, or should we wrap it up? We're getting to the top of the hour here. Thanks, everyone. And I guess we'll see you next Friday at noon Central.
Thanks,
Have a great
John.
weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Take care.